Hi everybody. Well, I've been reading a lot of articles right now of one of the reasons Bob Iger has been brought back to Disney to take over as CEO is to sell Disney. And that's not as outrageous as it sounds. A lot of news has been coming out of Disney lately, from the planned layoffs that was supposedly getting ready to happen to the top brass shuffling around to Bob Chapek being fired, Bob Iger being brought back. And now another report has just come out where Disney has been allegedly, I have to do this, I don't want to be sued, allegedly been fudging their numbers and moving numbers around so their end-of-year reports and their quarterly reports look much more favorable than they actually are. And one of the divisions right now, if you remember that they've been concentrating so much of all the money, the parks are making money. They're making bank, but they're basically funding everything right now that Disney's doing. It's the biggest money-making of everything they have, because right now their movies are down, and worst of all, their streaming service is way down. And it's not down in subscribers, but it's down in how much money they're spending compared to how much money they're making. They spent billions of dollars on programming, billions of dollars on new programming, and nobody's watching a lot of it. In fact, if you look at all of the history of the last Marvel series they've been putting out and the last Star Wars series they've been put out, they started up here, and now the watch average is way down here for every show. And I hear Andor, the latest Star Wars one, is actually pretty good, but they put out so much stuff that nobody liked, that now no one is even interested in it. And here's a big thing. They spent billions of dollars on Star Wars when they bought it from George Lucas, and the last movie was three years ago now, and there's not even a plan or a script in place to be working on. Yet the movie is supposed to come out in 2 more years. No script, no shooting schedule, no cast, no nothing yet. Is it possible? Is it just maybe possible that Disney's looking at getting rid of some of their TV services? Perhaps Hulu, for instance, selling that off. Now remember, they used to put everything on Netflix, and Netflix used to pay them for all their stuff. And then they decided to have their own streaming service instead, Disney Plus. And now they've been spending billions and billions of dollars and not making that revenue back. And it's expected when you first start a streaming service that this is going to happen. But when your reviews of all your program you're spending millions and millions of dollars on are being bombarded and hated by the fan base of the stories you're telling, you're not making any money. And you're not getting repeat business. And you're not getting subscribers. And that's not good. A lot of shareholders right now are really upset with the way Disney is going. And here's a perfect example. Disney just released a Disney animation movie. Remember animation movies? Lion King, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, Hunchback of Notre Dame, etc., Frozen, etc., etc., etc.? Well, they just released their latest one, Strange World. And nobody's going to see it. Nobody is going to see a Disney animation movie. A lot of the choices they're making and the writing that they're doing right now just isn't landing with fans. And that's the problem. They seem to be making programs to show everybody how, I don't know how to call it, inclusive or whatever you want to say that Disney is, and that's terrific. Disney's always been inclusive as far as I remember. it's always, the parks have always been supportive. It's in the culture. No one thinks it's not. But when you change all your TV programs, if you're writing TV programs for individual categories of people instead of the mass market, then you're only going to get the individual categories of people watching the show. Like if you made a show about YouTubers who live in Canada in Ottawa, I would watch it. But I guarantee you 9 million people won't compared to me. So you'll get my view, but you won't get anybody else's. And they have to figure that out. And this is one of the reasons a lot of things are going around, because Apple has always been interested in buying Disney. Now, Apple has their own streaming service, but it's nowhere in the top of streaming services. It's behind Netflix, Disney Plus, it's behind Hulu, it's behind a lot of them. So imagine if they could pick up Hulu or pick up part of Disney's services. It would be a very complicated system. Maybe Disney's trying to get rid of Fox again, that they bought for $87 billion for something crazy like that. But they're in debt. And who could have predicted the pandemic? Nobody. But they spent a lot of money, all to pump up the streaming service. And the streaming service is now what's taking all the money out of everything they make. From the movies they're putting in the theaters to the theme parks. And don't think it's not hitting the theme parks. Why do you think we don't have another gate at the Disney parks in Orlando? It's because all the money has to go to the streaming service to keep it afloat and make the programmings. There are billions of dollars every year being spent. Billions of dollars every year being spent. It just might be true. It just might be true that Disney might be trying to sell part of itself off. And I don't know how much better Bob Iger would be at selling things off, because he was good at buying it, that's for sure. He bought everything. But do you just think that maybe Bob Chapek, who's a money guy, a finance guy, might have even been better to sell off part? But I think people would have seen that as panic, and bringing Bob Iger back, they're hoping, is calming the waters of the shareholders. It's a sad state right now for Disney, because the interest in their biggest franchises is waning. Marvel, all the movies coming out are making less and less money than they did before. All the TV shows are making worse and worse and worse viewership. All the Star Wars movies completely ruin the fan base. The fan base has no interest now in Star Wars at all. At all. A lot of people will run and go see The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda or Grogu, but that's it. They're not interested in any of the other characters that they've managed to come up with, even though they've done Boba Fett shows, Andor shows. And now, no movies for 3 years. And not even one in the works. Not even a firm director, a firm script, or a firm actor. They don't know what they're doing. They're almost like they're afraid to make another Star Wars movie, because if they fail again, all the merchandise that they sell, all the money they spent on the Galactic Star Cruiser and Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge, all that will have been for naught, because they'll keep getting emptier and emptier and emptier. Meanwhile, Universal's new studio and new theme park is all set to open in a couple years, and Disney, right now, unless they announce something fairly soon, has nothing to answer it. And Disney got caught up once. They got caught up once when Harry Potter opened up at Universal Studios, and they saw a huge shift in the market over to Universal. Universal used to be way behind the Disney theme parks in how many people were going to visit them. That's not true anymore. It's much closer than it used to be. Yes, the Disney parks are still full, but you throw in another theme park at less cost than what you can go to Disney for, and then the waning of the movies that people just aren't interested in. I mean, they're not going to come up with a Strange World ride, although it might be kind of cool, because no one's going to see the movie. They're not going to come up with a Lightyear themed ride because no one went to see the movie. You see where I'm going? They either have to make some drastic changes at Disney, or they're going to have to sell something and let somebody else resurrect it. Because right now, animation, Pixar, Disney Plus, Star Wars, and Marvel are all on the decline when it comes to fan viewership. And when you don't have viewership, the fans don't spend money.